Hey everybody, time for another movie retrospective.
Yeah.
This one was actually a gift to us from one of our listeners and our patrons, Rob.
Yeah,
Hey,
thanks,
man.
Rob.
Thank you very much. And I'm actually really glad that he sent this one because this is one that I saw a lot on cable when I was little.
Yeah.
And I remembered the title of it, and I remembered vaguely like a couple scenes, but I didn't remember all that much about it. But the title, like, I remembered it all these years later, so it must have made some kind of impression at the time. But I hadn't seen it since then.
Yeah, if you guys want us to review something and we don't have it, you can send it to us and we'll review it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't mind doing that at all.
Something burned, or if it's a factory copy, even better.
Yeah,
I'll put that in my collection.
because like I said, I mean, we try to. Because I know we try to do like everybody's suggestions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Sometimes some movies are easier for us to get than others.
Yeah.
I usually like to do ones that were on my list from a long time ago. And then
Right.
they turn up on Shudder, and I'm like, oh, let's do that one because it
Yeah.
just came up on Shudder.
A few months back, somebody requested Xanadu. I'm looking at that on Blu-ray going, man, $10 for Xanadu on Blu-ray? I don't know. I can vaguely remember that movie. It had to do with Greek goddesses and stuff coming down from Mount Olympus.
Yeah.
They were
saw
all roller
it.
skating, Olivia
Yeah.
Newton-John.
I
I don't remember it
roller
being that
skating.
good, but maybe I might like it now.
You might.
It's kind of disco,
Yeah.
kind of like, Grease.
It might be fun. And, you
Grease
love
and-
Grease.
I like Grease, and then Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band. Remember
I love
with
that
the
movie
Bee
too,
Gees
even
and
though
shit?
it's terrible. It's terrible, but I love it anyway.
Yeah, but when you when you're drinking or maybe smoking something, that shit's fucking awesome to watch.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, if you're in a good mood.
Yeah,
Hell
super
yeah.
fun. But yeah, so the movie that Rob sent us is called Silent Scream, or The Silent Scream, sometimes it's called that. Now, this is not to be confused. I think there was a Doctor Who episode called Silent Scream, and there was also, I'm pretty sure, there was like an anti-abortion like PSA that was also
shit.
called The Silent Scream. This is not that. This is actually a sort of a slasher movie from 1979, 1980. Although I hesitate to call it a slasher movie, it does have some of the slasher movie tropes to it,
Yeah.
as in a killer stalking teenagers.
I'm gonna let Jenny do the heavy lifting on this one because we watched it together, but we watched a lot of stuff recently, and this one really didn't stand out to me.
Well, he's always kind of like on his tablet too at the same
Depends
time.
on what the movie is.
Depends on what it is. So
this movie, I remembered it from being very samey and not really standing out to me. But you liked it,
yeah.
yeah.
It's obviously an homage to Psycho.
Yeah.
So it's more, like I said, it's more psychological thriller than slasher. Not that many people, like the body count is not very high and the kills are not very graphic. It's kind of more a sort of just spooky atmosphere type thing with a couple of kills in it. And it does have kind of a Hitchcockian sort of thing. We're going to spoil it too, so...
Yeah, I remember certain
don't yell at me.
scenes from it, but it blended in with so many of the other ones that we saw during that little era that it just...
We were watching a lot of movies.
Yeah,
Like, I mean, we
kinda
always watch a
getting
lot of movies,
confused.
but sometimes I'll, stop work for the day and then it'll only be like 7 o'clock at night. And then we'll just watch like 3 or 4 movies in a row. And then we'll just get drunker and drunker as the movies go on. And then I'll fall asleep.
This movie is just very much a product of its time.
Yeah.
It's of its era. And we grew up during this time, and there are certain tropes and certain visual things that kind of, for us, we will kind of... They either stand out as something really good, or it's the opposite. They kind of blend off into the background, and I'll kind of go into neutral sometimes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's what kind of happened with this movie.
Yeah.
For me, it really didn't stick out as anything super special. But you were enjoying it, so
Yeah.
just because I didn't remember liking it, I'm not gonna say, hey, let's not do the review.
The fascinating
Yeah.
thing about this movie, and I didn't know this until after I saw it, this actually never would have occurred to me, that the movie was actually, some of it was shot in 1977, but then after the director, whose name was Denny Harris, after he screened it, he's like, this is unreleasable, what am I going to do? Then he brought in these 2 screenwriting brothers, the Wheat brothers, who actually, I think they went on to work on some of the Nightmare on Elm Street movies and shit like that, and told him to like retool it. And then most of the movie was reshot like only the movie that you see now, only 15% of that was part of the original version.
So they
brought in whole new
out.
actors.
Damn.
They got rid of a whole other actors. It's just like so the fact that it hangs together as like a narrative is amazing to me.
Oh.
So I mean, all of the shit that's in, like, you know, because there's like some famous people in this. Fucking Barbara fucking Steele is in it. I love her. Barbara Steele is in it. Yvonne DiCarlo is in it.
Yeah. Okay.
Cameron Mitchell, mark of quality right there.
Yeah.
I kind of love that guy, but he's in some shit ass movies.
Yeah.
But he's in it. So, but they didn't come on until later. I don't have any idea like what the original version of this. I've heard that it was like much sleazier. That there was like rapes and shit involved. So I guess they decided to just go in a different direction. Like I said, more in a psycho or psychological thriller type of direction, which I think was probably a good idea. Cause you know, we had enough of this lazy kind of shit. So like I said, even though the 15% of it that was originally shot, that was shot in 1977, but then the movie actually didn't come out until 1978 or 1979 rather. And I think then it only played like in a couple of theaters. And then it got like a little bit of a regional release like in 1980. But it actually ended up making like 15 mil.
Not bad.
And it didn't cost that much to make.
Not bad.
And then I don't know, that might have been like from rental and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
But because it didn't really get a wide release or anything.
Probably
I remember seeing it like on HBO or something.
Yeah, that's probably where it made most of its money.
Yeah, because they used to show it all the time, like on HBO, because I'm sure the rights were probably pretty cheap to get. But, okay, so this was actually shot at various locations in Southern California. The mansion where they shot it is actually quite cool. It's like overlooking the Pacific Ocean. I'm sure the interiors are maybe a different place. But it kind of concerns, there's this perky college student. Her name is Scottie Parker. And she has the patented, like, fucking... what's the fucking hairdo? The fucking the
Dorothy Hamill.
The Dorothy Hamill flip, and she had the big old bug eye sunglasses and shit like that. Her little midriff shirt and her little bell bottoms and whatnot. So she goes. She's going to college. She goes to like the registrar's office or whatever it is, and she's like, "Oh, the housing," and they're like, "Bitch, you should have been here like 2 weeks ago. There's no more housing for you. Fuck off." You know what I mean? Yeah. She was the lady at the registrar's office is very bitchy, I must say. She's not having it. So she's basically like, well, here's a list of places you can go and try to find an apartment and get out of my face. It's like, we can't, since these aren't sanctioned by the college, we can't vouch for their quality or anything like that. So she's basically like, get out of here and go. And then there's like a cute little montage of Scottie trying to find an apartment. And it's funny because she looks like so wholesome. She doesn't look like slutty or nothing like that. But at a couple places she goes, like some... you know, pruny old woman will like open the door and go like, no, you can't live here, you whore, or whatever. Like, that's what her face is saying. So she ends up at this creepy mansion. Now, this creepy mansion is owned by the Engels family, and it's a mom who's played by Yvonne DiCarlo. And if you didn't know that was Yvonne DiCarlo, a.k.a. Lily Munster...
You would recognize her, really.
She's unrecognizable. Yeah. So it's her and it's her creepy-ass, nerdy son, Mason, who's like this big gawky beanpole type of thing with like a really, really bad haircut. And he is like so creepy that he might as well have red herring tattooed across his forehead.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, and like I said, I am going to spoil this, even though he does... I think they kind of try to set it up so like you think that he's the killer, but they're so obviously trying to set that up that you're like, he's not the killer. Because, you know what I mean? Because he's introduced so early in the movie that you're like, that's not him. It can't be. Now, he does know who the killer is, though. But he's not the killer. Like, he's involved, but he's not.
Yeah.
So
I got him confused with the guy who they set up in the other movie to be the child molester.
Which movie are we talking
about? Remember that Italian flick that it was done in Louisiana?
Oh, the Lucio Fulci one?
Yeah. I kind of got him confused a little bit.
Yeah, okay. So all of them are blurring
They're
together.
kind of blurring together, yeah.
Like I said, we tend to like drink and watch horror movies at night, and sometimes if we watch 3 or 4 of them in a row, like sometimes the next day I'm like, wait, what did we even watch? I don't even remember.
and like subscribers will be messaging me and stuff. So me being on the tablet, it's not like I'm not working. I am working. I'm talking to you guys.
Yeah.
About future shows or just other topics. And shit.
Exactly.
Yeah. But sometimes after a few drinks, some of these 70s and 80s movies can start to blur together. Yeah.
into one big.
And a lot of watching a movie has to do with your mood.
Yeah.
I might be able to go back and see this movie again and like it, but at the time I remember being bored with it.
I get that a lot. It's like sometimes you have to be in the right frame of mind for particular movies.
Yeah.
I'm usually in the mood for a horror movie because I never get sick of them. I could just watch them all the time. But sometimes I'm in the mood for like a monster movie or a killer type movie. And sometimes I want like a creepy, like slow burn ghost story. You know what I mean?
The ones I never get bored with are the fucking really terrible Italian ones like Bronx Warriors.
Those are super
Remember
fun.
that shit? It was kind of like a fake Escape from New York.
Yeah.
And they had that 110-pound kid
They
walking
made a
around like a
couple of
badass with his little fucking his midriff showing and his
his name was Trash.
Oh, it was terrible. This shit was terrible.
Everybody had great names in that. I actually saw that one. I saw Escape 2000, which was either a sequel or a prequel to that one, because it was on Mystery Science Theater. That was actually one of the best episodes they did. That movie was fucking hilarious.
Yeah. If they're really bad, I love them.
Well, yeah, there's a certain entertaining quality about super shitty.
They have
movies.
that Sharknado effect.
Right.
Matter of fact, from that same, what's the name of that company that did Sharknado?
Oh fuck! Now I can't remember.
They do all the most terrible movies. They're all for
Atlantic Rim.
Atlantic Rim. Yeah.
The new MST did that movie.
I ordered their masterpiece, Nazis at the Center of the Earth.
I love that movie.
That movie is so bad that it's awesome.
I didn't think it was bad at all. I thought
No.
it was like a fucking blast.
Yeah,
I thought that movie was a blast.
Every Nazi stereotype is addressed
And it's
in the movie.
it's so ridiculous that it is awesome.
Vril energy, hollow Earth theories, Vril's flying saucers on I think Antarctica. Wasn't that mentioned?
I think so.
Just every fucking wacky Nazi stereotype, Nazi trope is in the movie. Yeah, that's great.
It's super fun.
Yeah,
but yeah, all right.
Better than Sharknado even.
Yeah, I liked Sharknado, but it was a little uneven.
Yeah.
But like I said, you got to watch when you're like trying to make a bad movie. It's hard to try to make a bad movie.
We're gonna do Nazis at the Center of the Earth.
It has to happen by accident.
We will do Nazis at the Center of the Earth when
we'll definitely do that when it gets here. But yeah, so Scottie moves into this house. There's also 3 other college students that are also living there. And one of the other ones is Doris, who's like a cute little chunky girl. And there's also Peter and Jack. Now, I think Peter is the one... they're both kind of douchey, but like Peter is like the douchier one because he's always like, my dad will pay for this. My dad, and I'm just like, oh boy, here we go. He's one of those and like all that. But, since they're the only dudes around in the house, the girls like pair off with them. So they start going out.
That shit would happen back in the 70s.
I guess so. It's just like, well, you're there, so let's
Love
bang.
the one you with. Love the one you with.
Exactly. Yeah, that's definitely what was going on.
Yeah.
Honestly, though, I feel like poor Doris got like the shit end of the deal because she ended up with fucking Peter.
Yeah.
And he was like, not only was like douchey, like I have money, blah blah blah, but he's also like he's also kind of rapey.
It was the pre-AIDS era.
Yeah.
They had all the girls tricked into free love. They trick them into it.
Yeah. Come on, don't you want to be cool?
Yeah.
Be cool like we are.
Yeah.
Just have sex with whatever moves.
With everybody. Yeah. Share.
Not share like, if you could turn time. Not that share.
Okay.
We're not even drinking today. This is iced coffee. We're just like this sober also.
Right.
But yeah, so they end up, going on a double date or whatever. Peter gets like super handsy with Doris on the beach and she's just like, nah, bro, and like knocks his ass out. And I was like, woo, you go, girl. And then she like fucking leaves him on the beach and his stupid ass gets stabbed. Is anyone sorry? No. So, and then here's the fucked up thing. The dude gets stabbed and then like, the next day, I think it was, Scottie's little boyfriend, whose name is Jack, I think, he's like, hey, let's go down to the beach and make out. She's like, do you mean where our friend just got murdered like 8 hours ago? Awesome. Yeah, let's totally do that. That'll put me in the mood. What the fuck? Yeah, he's like, but it's such a good beach. The beach can't help it that somebody got murdered on it. I guess.
It was another era.
I guess. But at least she was just kind of like... Ugh.
Yeah.
But then she went along with it because,
Yeah.
she's a girl. You go along with shit. What do you do? So they end up the thing or whatever. Now, Doris, meanwhile, she's pretty freaked out. I mean, she didn't love Peter or nothing like that. She just met the dude, but she was like, he did get stabbed, and that's kind of weird. And she felt kind of bad because she left him on the beach, even though he was being a rapey douche. So she's down in the laundry room talking to Scottie, and she says, I'm going to move out of this house because I don't like this chick, which is a reasonable thing to do. She's like, somebody got murdered. That's not cool. So she's like, and I'm kind of creeped out. Like, there's a murderer running around here. Could you stay down in the laundry room with me and keep me company? Because it's creepy. It's down in the basement, just like on every episode of A Haunting. And Scottie, like an asshole, she goes, no, I have studying to do. Then proceeds to go up to her room and have sex with Jack. And Doris gets murdered.
Yeah.
In the laundry room. Thanks, Scottie.
Yeah.
Getting laid was more important.
Yeah.
Than your friend getting stabbed to death.
It was back then, wasn't it?
I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, that whole thing happens. Yeah. Now, as the movie goes on, you discover, like I said, they're really trying to set it up like creepy ass Mason, because he's always like watching them, and he's like watching rapey shit on TV, and he's like, creepily eating a sandwich and like watching them have sex and all this other kind of, you know what I mean? He's just being obviously creepy. Yeah. So, so they're trying to set him up as the killer, but that it's so obvious that he can't be. But they start to think that there's maybe somebody else in the house. Now, as it turns out, as Scottie investigates, she finds out that Mason had a sister, and nobody knew what happened to the sister. But it turns out that she's been living, she's been walled up, and not walled up. I guess she can get out, but yeah, she can get out, obviously, because she's killing people. Yeah. But, so she's been, walled up in this house, and nobody knew she was there. And it took, forever for the cops to find out about it, because what happened was, okay, so the sister, who's played by Barbara Steele, and like I said, I love Barbara Steele, she does not say a single word in this movie. She plays it completely silently, and she is awesome and scary. So what happened to her was that she got pregnant and tried to hang herself, but she survived, and then she went mental. And then it turns out that even though Mason thought that Barbara Steele was his sister, that was actually his mom. So Yvonne DiCarlo was actually his grandma. So there was that whole fucked up family shit going on. Yeah. Now, so she went crazy, and she couldn't talk because it fucked up her larynx or whatever when she tried to hang herself. And they took her, the mom, took her out of the psychiatric ward and, hid her in the house. And so then, for whatever reason, and Mason even says to Yvonne DiCarlo, he's like, why the fuck did you let all these college students stay here if you knew she was up there and was getting all murdery? And she's just like...
Because it's fun.
My bad. Well, she's like, I needed money. We were going to lose the house.
This movie is like a great candidate for, shitcase cinema. Your Johnny Shitcase? Yeah. His show?
I really do love that show. He's so funny.
Yeah.
I don't think this is bad enough, because this is actually, I think this is actually a fairly well made movie. Like I said, it's more Hitchcockian. It's not really a slasher.
Hear you tell it, it's hilarious.
I know, but
yeah, I'd like to hear Johnny Shitcase tell us how the story went. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Yeah. But so that whole shit happens, and everything turns out okay. Scottie lives, Jack lives. And everybody that's a bad guy gets killed. Yeah. Even though it took cops fucking forever. Now, like I said, I find it amazing. This movie is only 87 minutes long. I find it amazing that it hangs together so well, even though
it's two movies.
It's essentially two movies. I mean, there was this actress that was in it, Diane something, I think her name was, and she was supposed to be a police lieutenant or something like that, and she had shot the role. And then later on, in the later version of the movie, they cut her part completely out because they said a female police lieutenant was unbelievable. In 1979. Back then it probably was. So they got Cameron Mitchell instead, who was in it for maybe 2 days or something. Yeah. And I heard he got $500 for being there for 2 days.
Back in the 70s, I don't even remember female police officers. In the 70s.
I don't really remember.
They were, back in the 70s, I was out in California, and they were all dudes with mustaches. You know what I'm talking about?
YMCA.
Yeah. Only two kind of men wear mustaches back in the 70s. Cops and gay cops.
Cops and gay cops.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
It's
so.
a high-speed shock absorber. For a cocksucker.
Some of them were, I guess.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, so, so the fact that, and it's funny too, because even though you could say this is like kind of cheesy and stuff, but what they did was Cameron Mitchell's thing at the end where the cops finally like figure the shit out, come to the house, find the dead people all over the place, like Mason and the sister and everything. And what they did was they took that end part where he discovers all the bodies, they slowed it down, like, and put that footage at the beginning, like, as a cold open, like, over the credits. And I'm like, oh, nice, like, double use of footage there. Like, normally I would think that was, like, cheesy and, like, cheap, but it worked. Because you didn't know the context of it, like, when you saw it in the beginning. And it was just, like, during the credits, and you're like, oh, my God, all these fucking bloody people, like, up here in this attic. What the fuck happened here? But then at the end, you find out what happened. So it is kind of cheap, but I thought it was justified. And they pulled it off pretty well, I thought. So like I said, this is a movie that I saw a lot on cable growing up. This one, My Bloody Valentine, like all those ones.
I remember that one.
This was like all around that time. Because I was, I've loved horror movies since I was a little kid. And it's like as soon as I was...
For me, this is a very forgettable movie. There was little snippets of it I remembered.
Yeah.
From seeing on cable.
Yeah.
But I'd forgotten it even back then. I don't think I saw it very many times.
Yeah.
It might have been something that was playing in the background mostly.
Yeah.
Because I remember there were a few scenes that kind of stood out. I was like, oh yeah, I remember that one. But the movie as a whole, I had forgotten it.
My favorite part of it is Barbara Steele. I think she is easily the best part of this movie. And obviously you don't see much of her until the end because you don't know that she's in the house. She's like living up there secretly. And one of the coolest things about it is that in her room, she has, like a dresser with a mirror on it, except the mirror is a picture of her when she was young. So she's like not even looking, and she's like sits there and looks at it like it's a mirror, which I think is like pretty cool. But like I said, she doesn't say anything in this, but she's still, I'm not quite sure how old she was when she was horribly old, but she still looks really good in this, and she plays a crazy person so well that she doesn't even have to like say anything. So she is easily like the highlight of this movie, and I'm glad that. When they redid it from, the footage that they shot in 1977, that they actually got her, they got Yvonne DiCarlo, and they got some actual actors to kind of, get to class this thing up. And like I said, I think it was the right choice to go in a more psycho direction rather than like a slasher direction.
Yeah.
So, like I said, this is one that I saw a lot on cable growing up, and I remembered the title of it, and I remembered a couple scenes, but I didn't remember like the whole thing. Like I didn't remember the story or what happened in it. So I'm happy that I got to revisit it because I really like to revisit things that I saw back then.
Yeah, this wasn't as good as Dead and Buried.
No, I liked Dead and Buried a lot better.
Yeah, I had forgotten all about Dead and Buried until we got it and saw it. No, we didn't get it.
It's on Shudder.
It's on Shudder.
Yeah.
We saw that. I saw that, and I remembered every frame of it once it started rolling.
Yeah.
I'd forgotten all about that movie.
Yeah.
If you guys want to see a badass movie, go look at Dead and Buried.
Yeah, we did a review of it.
Did a review of it.
Another one that's on Shudder that I really liked as a kid, and then I re-saw again recently, and I think it's on Shudder, is Stage Fright. That's actually an Italian movie, but it's dubbed into English. And I might do a review on that one too, because I remember liking that one a lot.
Dead and Buried came out after this one, but not by long. A couple years. Maybe.
Yeah, when did Dead
maybe
Buried
like 82, right?
I think it was 81 or
81, 82. But Dead and Buried was memorable. Even I forgot the title of it, but as soon as I saw it again, I remembered every bit of it.
Because that was a crazy,
that's a creepy ass movie
premise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Guy making zombies.
A crazy premise goes, or like a weird or original premise goes a long way.
Yeah, weird.
But it's funny too, like, what things stick with you when you're a kid and what things don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's funny too because when I remember, and I mentioned My Bloody Valentine before. I'm not talking about the remake. The remake wasn't bad. I actually did see the remake, but the original from 1981. I saw that when I was 9 or 10 years old, and that scared the shit out of me when I was little. Oh my God, that scared me so bad. But then I watched it like over and over because I'm a glutton for punishment.
We saw Friday the 13th Part 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And 1 was still kind of scary in a way, but it wasn't nowhere near as scary as I remembered it. It wasn't as gory as I remembered it.
I remembered it being really gory, but it's not.
Yeah. And
it's
then
not funny.
Part 2 was still good.
I like
Part 3 sucked.
Yeah, Part 3.
Part 3 sucked, and I remembered liking that as a kid.
I liked it too at the time.
Yeah, but you see it now, you're just like,
but I saw
this
it and I really
is a
didn't
fucking
like it.
movie? I mean, it was terrible.
I liked 1 and 2. So.
Yeah, I think 3 kind of killed the Friday the 13th series.
Even though they kept
They kept going. They kept going and going and going. But they got worse, if you ask me. But no, I guess they got a little bit better. 3 is bad.
Yeah.
3 is very bad.
I had forgotten about it being that bad, actually. I'm like, because honestly, back in the day, I saw up to number 7 or 8, like when they came out. And then I just didn't bother because I'm like, boy, Jason's going to space. Fuck that. Yeah. And like, I didn't watch, but I watched it recently and it was terrible, but I was entertained. Yeah. It doesn't take much
from this era. From this era, the ones that stuck with me were like Dead and Buried, The Tenet, the one Burnt Offerings.
God, I love that.
Yeah.
We did a review of that too.
Yeah.
The book is also awesome by Robert Marasco.
What's the one? Burnt Offerings. Yeah. What else? There was another one from that time. Man, there are a lot better.
I still want to do a review on Ghost Story because I love that movie. That was 81. And also that's one of my favorite books too. Yeah. They took a lot out of, obviously because the book is like fucking a doorstop and they had to make a 2-hour movie out of it. So they had to cut a lot of it out. But I mean.
The Changeling.
Yeah. Yeah. That's also on Shudder still.
The Evil. Oh, that was later.
Yeah.
I think that was Evil might have been around 83.
That really, and I had actually didn't see that at the time, and we did a review of it. I might have mentioned on the review, that reminded me very strongly of Hell House, Haunted of Hell House.
The Legacy.
Yeah.
I like that one. With the Satanists.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
The Sentinel, we need to do a review on the Sentinel. I need to get that. Yeah. Because I haven't seen that in a long time, and I remember that being scary as shit, too. Yeah. But yeah. So, like I said, if you're into kind of psychological thrillers from the 70s and you haven't seen Silent Scream, because I feel like it might be out of print or it's kind of like hard to get nowadays, then check it out. You might really like it. Like I said, don't expect it to be super gory or nothing like that, because it's not. Only a couple people get killed, and that's not gory. I think there's titties in it, but that's about it.
We got to do the other, too.
Yeah, we definitely will do that because I also love that movie and I love that book too.
Yeah, that was a weird movie.
That was a really good book also. So yeah, and thank you again very much, Rob, for sending us Silent Scream. That was very awesome of you. And remember, if you like the show, like, share, subscribe on all your social media. If you'd like to financially support the show, you can go to our Patreon page, patreon.com/13o'clockpodcast. Or you can go to our blog, 13o'clockpodcast.wordpress.com, and there is a little button in the sidebar where you can go to a PayPal account if you'd like to give a one-time donation. And remember, our movie retrospectives, just like this one here, come out every Friday, and our 13 o'clock matinee, 3 new movies in the theater, come out every Sunday, and our regular episodes come out every Tuesday, so check them all out. We will see you next time. Bye.